Well, thank you very much, Dr. Horner. And now I would like to open the floor to any discussion. Please address your questions to each panelist, to whoever you want to ask a question. Do we have mics? So, lady back there.
Yes, my question is to Mr. Mitsotakis and also Mr. Makrides, who made the same points. I'm actually an English teacher, but there have been so many occasions in these last few years when I wished I studied economics as well. My question is that both of you said that Greece was not able to feed its own people. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that? And also on the thought that maybe if things all go badly, would it not be one positive aspect of this that actually emphasis might have then to be put upon Greece producing more to do exactly that, feed its own people?
Answer now?
Yes, okay. You have 3 minutes.
Greece currently imports, I think, something like 75% of the meat that is consumed in Greece, and I think the allusion that was made to the country not being able to feed its people has to do with the fact that if you move back to a currency that is immediately severely devalued, you will have great trouble financing all your imports. And if you have basic shortfalls in food or fuel, that will create a situation that is going to be very, very dire for the country. Now, as to whether Greece should be able to produce more of its basic needs, my answer would be obviously yes, but we don't need to see the other scenario to realize that this is absolutely a necessity. We have long time ago abandoned what we call primary sector. The primary sector. And we have basically used European assistance to finance consumption rather than to improve the competitiveness of our agricultural sector. We need to reassess this model, and if we want to think in terms of growth prospects for the future, which is the other component of the discussion, we didn't really talk so much about this, we need to understand and assess those sectors where Greece has a natural competitive advantage. And I would make the argument that the primary sector is such a sector, but we need to look at it not through the distorted lens of easy European subsidies, but through the realities of a market. And we need to produce products that are competitive rather than products that are basically just produced because they're subsidized. And so the answer is that we need to move in that direction regardless of what happens tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stack. Is there another question? Well, I think Professor Pagoulatos, Eleftheria, please. Yes, there is.
Thank you. I'll be reading the question for Mr. Mitsotakis and Professor Pagoulatos, please. The news today are reflecting all the things tomorrow, and some of the terms that have leaked in the media already, drawing the picture of the prospects for development very glim. For example, 1% development after 20 years. I don't know, maybe I'm exaggerating, but I'm making the point of. The overwhelming majority of Greek people, according to all demographic galas and opinion polls, are showing that the majority of the Greek people, about 8%, I don't know the number exactly, are for staying with the euro. So the question is not so much whether people would have to get out of euro or stay in with euro, other than with the known views of the Communist Party. But rather the question is this, at what cost? Because I didn't hear any of you refer to the well-circulated plan Eureka and the risk of losing national independence. I'm simplifying the term so I can finish fast. And nobody referred to the plan overlord, which is, at least not by words anyway, which is something that the majority of the Greek people seem to be against. So the issue that is raised is not whether the Greek people want to get out of euro or stay with euro, but rather at what cost. And could you please comment, because the Wednesday and Thursday you will be here, and the discussion will take place in the Greek Parliament, and I would like to please have you comment on that.
Thank you very much, Theria. I think Professor Pagoulatos first, because I know you're shortly aware.
Frankly, I am not very much concerned on the real implications of the prospect of pooling a part of our sovereignty at the European level. The European Union and the Eurozone have been all about pooling sovereignty at the European level. And the only way forward, if you are enmeshed in such a web of deep interdependence, in which the problems of one country become problems of another, and the only solutions that can be applied are solutions that can be applied collectively, the only way to manage such interdependence is by surrendering a part of sovereignty at the European level. This is what the European Union participation has always been about. And the European Union itself is a very post-sovereign structure which combines the supranational and intergovernmental level with the national level. And we have all agreed that those areas that can be governed at the national level without implications at the European level should remain national. We have our own education policy, we have our own cultural policy. But when it comes to the economy, and if this economy has implications for the rest and for the euro, it is extremely legitimate and it is extremely sensible to pool sovereignty and to enter decision-making within the European policy framework. If we're not happy with that, then we should take the courageous and also self-destructive decision to move out. I think I do not see a consensus in Greek society in support of that. I think it would be a foolish thing to do. But from the moment we are functioning in the single market, from the moment we are sharing a common currency, this means that our fiscal policy decisions have implications, and the German taxpayers know that very well. They're not very happy with the bailout of the periphery. The French taxpayers know it well. They're bailing out their banks, which need to be saved because they've invested in the periphery. We're all enmeshed in an extremely tight interdependence, and the only way we can manage it is by involving the European Union very closely in our decision making. And I'll be very happy with that because we've had a very poor quality of national level governance over the decades, which have led us to that result.
Thank you. Mr. Mitsotakis, please.
Brief comment. I think as politicians we need to be very careful how we frame the problem, and we need to present to the Greek people a very clear set of choices, and not allude to kind of miraculous solutions that may just simply not be available. I would tend to agree with what George said. The overall question for Europe is whether it will have the capability to further deepen its integration, or whether it will break apart. It is very clear that Europe as it is can no longer continue to function properly. As far as Greece is concerned, I think part of the Greek problem has to do with the fact that over the past 30 years, from 1981 on, we basically thought of our European affiliation as an a la carte menu. We pick and choose what is convenient for us. We like the agricultural subsidies, but we're not willing to reform our agricultural sector. We benefit from the low interest rates as a result of the introduction of the euro, but we do not move down the path of fiscal consolidation. Now this chapter has been written, and we can no longer go back to the past. So we need to play by the rules of the game, and the rules of the game are going to be set out for us, unfortunately without our participation, in a very, very clear manner. And we have to make some very, very tough choices, not just as politicians, but you as citizens of the Greek society will need to make some very, very tough choices. Whether it sticks with Europe in a difficult path, or whether it chooses another path, which may, as George said, be very appealing in terms of our nationalistic feelings, but may be quite destructive in the long run. So these are the choices that we will face, and those choices need to be framed very, very carefully by us. And it would be wrong not to properly frame these questions and to give the impressions that there are other solutions. One of the choices that will be very, very clear for the country.
Thank you, Mr. Mitsotakis. I'm tempted to extend your metaphor by saying that we have moved into a menu fix, which is becoming not very tasty. Yes, there are many students. There's a gentleman back there, yes.
I would like to ask, we have heard that in order to come out of the crisis, many external investors...
Who are you asking?
External investors, but whenever external investors came to Greece willing to invest, it was almost impossible for them to come out with a profit. What is the reason of this situation?
To whom are you asking this question?
Whoever can answer.
Anyone?
To the business.
To the bankers.
Institutional investors, private investors.
One thing that I can start bashing the system and the bureaucracy and all the things that you keep hearing. But one very important element that is happening right now is uncertainty. And investors hate uncertainty. Once all the dust settles, there's always a price for everything. And then the question becomes philosophical. At what price is are the asset holders willing to sell their assets? But at this moment, it's when you don't know what the situation is going to be, and that's why it's so urgent for the Europeans to come out with a solution, one way or another.
Anyone else?
Let me say one thing. A lot of attention is correctly paid on how difficult it is for foreign investors to come here to Greece and to make a profit. What is often forgotten is that it is extremely difficult for Greek companies to face the mirage of bureaucratic difficulties to operate and be creative. I think this crisis, if anything, and as one has said, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste, is an amazing opportunity to change the way we work, to make the public sector much more efficient, and to make it in a way as an enabler for the private sector to produce, to give employment, and to be competitive.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, actually, exactly what the gentleman said is, on the stock market point of view, is that always the institutional investors, the foreign ones, in the past have bought stocks, companies like the Hellenic Communication or the Commercial Bank of Greece, and they've lost a lot of money. So someone, would say why they insist on that. It's a place in the Eurozone, and we've been consuming all these years. Sometime they will invest and they will make money out of it, but it's really weird why they're doing it, and there's no question of it, because they've lost a lot of money out of buying big companies in the market.
Thank you very much. Madam, that way, yes.
Hi, this is towards Mr. Mitsotakis at the end. Greece is the catalyst of the European financial predicament that we're in right now. But I'd like to ask what your perspective is in the sense that if we took Greece out of the picture completely, do you think Europe will be facing the same predicament. It's just a matter of time. But with other countries, with other economies, the Italian economy,